Hello and welcome. Please keep this into your mind that the total duration of Primavera P6 project planning and scheduling course is more than 15 hours long, where I have tried to discuss every needed Primavera P6 function in detail. Now, I understand that for some of you, it may be difficult to finish the whole course at once. So you may want to be familiar with the Primavera P6 software interface and its core functions quickly, and want to create your basic project schedule as soon as possible. In other words, you may want to be able to use the Primavera P6 professional software in the shortest time possible. And that's the main reason I have created this lesson. By the time you finish this lesson, you should be able to create your basic project plan quickly and confidently, and later on you can go through these Primavera P6 core functions in detail. You can learn earned value management, risk management, S-curves, and other advanced topics as per your own convenience in the rest of the course. Of course, you will learn and complete all the needed Primavera P6 functions that are required to plan, schedule, monitor and control your project efficiently and effectively. Okay, good. So we will start by learning the procedure to download and install the Primavera P6 Professional Project Management software, and we will briefly see the user interface and how the Primavera P6 basic user and admin preferences are configured. After, we will learn to create enterprise project structure, and will create a new project and will set up a calendar accordingly. I will help you create the work breakdown structure and its related activities. Then we will work together to create and add milestones, activity relationships, and will learn adding constraints. We will quickly learn to add and assign project resources, and after this, setting up and handling of the project expenses will also be discussed during this lesson. We will discuss about setting up and assigning the project baseline, creating layouts, and will discuss updating the schedule. We will demonstrate and learn about printing project layouts, importing and exporting of the projects in the different file formats. Then we will see printing reports and will also discuss formatting Gantt charts during our lesson. Okay, now let's begin and let's learn all these Primavera P6 functions one by one to create our project schedule to be up and running with Primavera P6 Professional Project Management software.
In case if you don't have copy of the Primavera P6 software with you and the Primavera P6 is not installed on your laptop or a desktop machine, then please don't worry. The downloading of the Primavera P6 software is straightforward and very easy. You can always download it from the Oracle website, and I'm going to explain the download procedure for you. Let's open our web browser and visit the website edelivery.oracle.com. It will open up the Get Started with your download page in front of us. Click on New User Registration link if you don't have the account already, and create your Oracle account form is appearing here. We need to fill up the relevant fields in the form. In my case, I have done that already and I'm not going to do it now. So once all the required fields are filled in, then you will click on the Create Account button at the end of the page. Now to log in, we need to click on blue sign in button here. Type your username and password that we have created recently. For me, I have done that already. So select Download Package from the drop-down menu and type Primavera P6 Professional in the search box, or simply you can type Primavera P6. Here you will see the different versions of Primavera P6 software, such as version 17, 18 and 19. I will select Primavera P6 Professional version 19.12, the most recent one that has been released in the last December 2019. Then I will select on Add to Cart button. After, click on View Cart and then click on Continue. We will select User Agreement and click on Continue. Then we will select Download and it will download the file in the folder we selected before. We will open up and run the downloaded file, then select Destination folder. I will prefer and select the download folder on my laptop. Click OK and it will start downloading Primavera P6 software package in the destination folder. I will explain the installation procedure in our next video. See you in the next lesson. Let's select the folder where we have downloaded the zipped file. In our case, I have downloaded and extracted the zipped file in my download folder. So I will select and run the setup file in the P6 Pro R1912 folder. The Run Database Configuration option I will keep as it is and then click OK. Since I will not be connecting to any Oracle database, Cloud Connect or Microsoft SQL Server, for training purposes, we will be working and configuring the database locally on our laptop machine. That's why I will select the driver type to P6 Pro Professional Standalone SQLite only. Then click Next. Please note that since we will be adding the standalone database on our laptop, so I will select the radio button, add a new standalone database and connection. Then I will click Next button. I will type and confirm my password. Then I will click Next and select Finish button. Press OK and my setup is complete now and the latest Primavera P6 version 19 is installed already on my computer. Then I will run program Primavera P6 version 19. It will ask for the username and password as you can see in the window. I will type my username and password in. Click on Connect button and my standalone Primavera P6 Professional project management software is ready. Now we need to select the relevant industry I'm working for. So from the main menu, I will select Admin, then Admin Preferences, and I will select the industry type to Government, Aerospace and Defense. Click OK. Our latest version of Primavera P6 is ready for the operation now. I'm positive that you have learned and understood the Primavera P6 installation procedure very well now. Let's launch the software by clicking Primavera P6 icon on your desktop. Type your password in and it will open up the startup interface in front of you. As you can see, it has three parts. The area on the upper left side showing individual projects, portfolios, that is called Enterprise Project Structure or EPS. The area in the bottom of screen is called Project Detail Form. Here you can see various tabs like General, Date, Funding, Details and many more. All these provides detailed information about the project such as project name, start and finish dates, funding source, amount, along with the new activities, default settings. If required, these tabs can be customized. More options can be added or removed by right mouse click on any of the tabs. The portion on upper right side is called Gantt charts view, showing start and end dates of tasks, projects, and portfolios. Clicking on any of the bar will show project detail in the bottom window. As you can see from this window, I have the choice creating a new project or opening up an existing project which I'm already working on. We can also create resources here by using resource assignment icon. I can take printouts of our project layouts, Gantt charts, filters. Also will have icons for the project tables, Gantt charts as well. Don't worry about remembering all these details right now. As you learn and use the menu and become more familiar with the software, the interface will become easier for you to navigate. At the moment, let's just get a general idea of how everything is set up. The menu across the top of the screen has several options like File, Edit, View, Project, Enterprise, Tools, Admin, and Help. If I want to do something but I'm not sure how, browsing through these menus will often provide the answer. In the previous video, we have already defined our user preferences, and now we will change the required settings in the admin preferences. From the top menu, select admin and then click on admin preferences. From here, we can mention various application-wide values that apply to all projects. We can use these settings to customize our project to meet our specific project schedule requirements. I will click on General tab and will prefer to modify the settings as starting day of the week to Monday. Of course, starting day of week and activity duration can be changed as per our specified project requirements. I will leave data limits and ID lengths to default values, but I would like to check and verify values in the time periods tab since this setting will affect my projects. So click on this tab and see if the hours per day and hours per week are defined correctly here. The settings for the Earned Value tab, Reports, Options, and Rate types, I will prefer to leave them as defaults. But in the Industry tab, I have to select my own industry I'm working for, because the Primavera will use the default calculation settings and terminology as per my specific industry settings. So let's select engineering and construction for our settings at the moment. Before we proceed further, our first step would be to set up the user and admin preferences in the Primavera. So let's select Edit from the top menu, then click on User Preferences. Next, click on the time units and define how to display time information. In units format, in our case, let us select units of time to hour and leave the duration format as day. Then I will click on dates and specify a format for dates as required. I will prefer to use day, month, year format, and I prefer time as 12-hour format. But again, it's your choice whether you want to use 12 or 24 hours format. I'm going to click on the currency tab and select view currency. Here we can specify our own currency format, but usually by default it's in US dollars. Similarly, click on the Assistance tab and specify which resource and activity wizard you may want to use while adding new activities and resources. In my case, I will leave as it is. Next, I will click on the application and set our application startup options. I will leave activities as our startup window. Now we will click on the password option, and from here we can change our existing password if required. I will leave as it is. since I don't need to change the password at the moment. Similarly, resource analysis, calculation, startup filter, options can also be modified if required, but at the moment I will keep the same as default settings.
Do you know what's the EPS? Please remember that in simple terms, the enterprise project structure or EPS creates a database of projects, similar like folders, and each EPS node can be further divided into multiple levels. So now let's create our enterprise project structure, and then after we can create and start working on our new project as required. From the main menu, let's select Enterprise option, and then in this menu, as you see, we need to click on the Enterprise project structure. Click on Add button on the right side, and down below under EPS ID, I will type training, and here in the EPS name I will type Primavera Education, and next I will click on the close button then. And you see here the new EPS as Primavera Education has appeared already at the top in the EPS list. Next, we are going to create our project under this new EPS named as Primavera Education. Please remember that the EPS ID and EPS name can be selected as per our own specific project and company requirements. So that's it about this lecture. Let's move to our next lesson now. Okay, so we are ready to create our new project now. As you know, we have already created enterprise project structure in our previous lesson. Now, in order to create a new project, I will select my EPS created earlier as Primavera Education, and then I will click on the file from the main menu, and I will click on New, or simply we can use or press Ctrl plus N keys from our keyboard. As you see, New Project Wizard has opened up. Let's choose the newly created EPS through Select EPS option, and let's select plus button on the right side and let's click Next. We need to type the project ID. I will type as PR001, and I will type the project name as Learning Primavera Foundations, and after we will click Next. We have to mention the project start and finish dates here, or we can leave it as default. I'll be leaving other options such as responsible manager and rate type as defaults. Now let's click on the finish button, and you see the new project has appeared already under our new EPS, which we named as Primavera Education. Now select the project by clicking on project ID PR001 and see the detailed form below. Here in the dates tab, let's mention 10th of January 2020 as our planned start date. I'll mention the anticipated start date
as 15th of January and finish dates 30th January. Okay, so well done. You have created your first project already in the Primavera P6 Professional. Now, our next step is to set up a calendar for our newly created project called as Learning Primavera Foundations. Okay, so that's it. Let's move to our next lesson now. We have seen and have created our new project already in the previous lesson, and now we need to create a calendar and let's assign it to our new project accordingly. In fact, we can create and assign calendars to every project, activity, and resource as needed. In a calendar, we can define the available work hours for each calendar day, such as holidays, working and non-work days, resource vacation days, and from the main menu, let's select Enterprise, and then I will click on the calendars options. As you see, the calendar window is opened already. Now we need to select the project radio button. The reason behind this that we are going to apply calendar to our project only. So now I will click on add button. Let's select template from the global calendars. From here, I'm going to select 5 days worksheet template under calendar name. I'm going to rename as PR001 5 days per week. After, let's click on modify button, and at the top I will select detailed work hours per day. I'm going to click on work week on the right side. I'm making sure that Saturday, Sunday is holiday, and my timing for all other days is 8 to 4 p.m., 8 hours a day, every day. After, let's click OK button and hit close. As you see, the calendar named PR001 5 days per week is created for my project already. Now let's apply this calendar by clicking on our project name. Now below in the detailed form in the defaults tab, as you see, I have the calendars option. So let's confirm if the newly created calendar is applied already to my project. And this is the end of this lecture. Let's move to our next lesson now. Okay, so at this point, we have created our project already, and also the calendar is assigned to my project as well. Our next step is to create the work breakdown structure or WBS for our project and then create activities under these WBS accordingly. As you know, WBS means that we will break down our project work into different sections or parts. Let's click on the project from the main menu, and then I will select WBS option. As you observe here, it is opening up the WBS window in front of us, which is showing the project name that has start and finish dates displaying in the Gantt chart area. Next, we need to right mouse click on the WBS name, click add, and a new WBS name is appearing on the screen. Let's create 2 more in a similar way. Please note that for the sake of this training, I will keep it simple and will limit ourselves to the 3 WBS only. So next, I have to rename them as per my own requirements. such as stage 1 to training planning, stage 2 as training commencement, and stage 3 as training implementation. We can sort them out by clicking on WBS name in ascending or descending order as needed. Okay, so great that our project WBS creation is complete, and our next step is to add the project activities under these WBS names. So that's it about this lesson. Let's move to our next lecture now. In our previous lecture, we have completed the WBS entries for our project already, and now it's time to define and create the project activities under each WBS element. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is that we need to switch to the activities window now. So from the top menu, let's click on the project and let's select activities from the project menu. As you see here that it's showing all the 3 WBS elements that we have created earlier. I mean training planning, training commencement, and training implementation. Now I will right mouse click on the training planning, and then I need to click on the add option to add the activities here. Please note I will add 3 activities here at this stage. And as you see here, the activity IDs are automatically assigned by the Primavera P6 professional software. Let's double click on the activity name and let's rename the activities to define training objectives, training need analysis, and create list of participants. Same way, now we can add 2 activities under the second WBS element, which is training commencement. After then, let's rename the activities under training commencement. Here, we need to rename these activities as identify start and end dates and training material preparation. Next, let us add 2 activities for our third WBS element, which is training implementation. Now, let's rename these activities as conduct training and issue certificates. Great that we have completed this task and we have defined our project activities under each WBS category. In the next lesson, we will define the milestones and will add the relationships between all these activities we have just created. Okay, so this is the end of this lecture. Let's move to our next lesson now. We have created the project activities in our last lesson, and now let's define the milestone activities for our project. By the way, what's the milestone activity? It means the activities that shows and mark the start or end of a certain project work or phase in our schedule. Milestone activities always have a 0 duration. Please make sure that we are in the activities window. Now, in the project activities window, let's click on activity ID A1000, which is define training objective. Now, as you see here in the detail form down below, in the journal tab, I will change the activity type option to start milestone. Kindly observe that here As soon as I change the activity type as milestone activity, the activity duration is changed to 0, and at the same time, this change will also be reflected in the Gantt chart area as well. Now, in a similar way, I'm going to assign activity ID A1060, which is issue certificates. We will assign this activity 1060 as the finishing milestone. So that's how we define the milestone activities in our project schedule. As a next step, in the next lesson, we will add relationships between our project activities. So that's the end of this lecture. Let's move to our next lesson now. If we observe the schedule activities in the upper right side in the Gantt chart area, we find out that all these activities are starting at the same time. Why is that? It means there is no relationship exists, and we need to create the relationship between these activities in our project schedule. So first, I will click on the activity that I want to assign a predecessor activity, and here in our case, I will click on the activity called create a list of participants. Now from the predecessor tab, let's click on the assign button in the activity detail form below. As you see, we will have assign predecessors window displaying here. Now in this window, select activity ID A1010, which is training need analysis, and then let's click on the plus button to assign this activity as a predecessor to the activity ID 1020, create a list of participants. And after, you see a finish to start relationship is appeared in the relations column in the detail form below. Now again, in a similar fashion, I will click on the identify start and end dates and assign create a list of participants as a predecessor. Then we'll click on training material preparation and assign identify start and end dates as a predecessor. After, I will click on conduct training and assign training material preparation as a predecessor of this activity. Now we created relationship between all the activities in our project schedule. So next, I need to schedule my activities by pressing the schedule icon in the top menu. And immediately after this, as you see, we'll have a finish to start relationship appeared between all the activities as shown in the Gantt chart area. Good. So in this way, we can always create any type of relationship such as finish to start, finish to finish, start to start, or start to finish between our project activities as per our project needs. Generally, in Primavera P6, the constraints are used to manipulate the start or finish time of the individual projects or activities. In other words, we can say that a constraint is a factor that sets when an activity can start or when it can be finished. Now, in order to add or set a project constraint, I will select our project in the project window, and then in the project detail form below, we need to click on the dates tab. Now here, as you see, must finish by option is the one that we normally use for setting the project constraint. So here, I will set the must finish by option to 30th January 2020. Now after, I will refresh data by pressing F5 from my keyboard. So once my data is refreshed, then I have to reschedule my project. That we can do by pressing the F9 key on our keyboard, or we can use the schedule option from the tools menu. Now let's press F9 to schedule the project for this change to happen. And this will let us update the project database with the latest project data. Okay, so this is how we set up constraint for our projects. So that's it. This is the end of our lecture. Let's move to our next lesson now. We have already learned about adding the project constraint in our previous session, and now it's time to add activity constraint to our project activities. We will select our project and open up the activities window. Then I'm going to select the activities for which I'm going to apply the constraint. There are different types of constraints available for a particular activity type. So let's click on activity ID A1010 in the detail form below. I will select status, and under constraints in the primary constraint section, I will select start on or before, mention date as required, but I will leave as it is. I can see the asterisk sign appeared in the start date of the activity, which shows that this activity has constraint applied on it already. We have created and defined the relationship between project activities already. Now we will learn to add resources, I mean the labor or non-labor and material resources to the activities in our project schedule. And further, we will assign these resources to the different project tasks. From the top in the main menu, let's select Enterprise and let's click on the Resources option. And as you see, it is opening up the Resources window in front of us. Now, let's move down at the end and right mouse click on Add to add resources to the resources database here. Let's define the main heading for our resources first, if it's not existing already. So here, as an example, I will enter the resource ID as Primavera and resource name as Learning Solutions. Resource type will be as labor. Then in the details tab below, I will change the defaults units per time as 8 hours per day, and rest of the settings I will keep as defaults. Now here I would suggest to add and create separate heading for the labor, non-labor and material resources. And then under each heading we can define the resources accordingly. Okay, so next I will add resources under the learning solutions, and at the moment let's add just 2 labor resources under learning solutions for now. By right clicking on this, I will modify the resource IDs as JB and JK respectively. The resource name can be any names such as John and David. Now here, please note that you can have your own resource IDs, name and type as per your specific organization and as per the specific project needs. Then after selecting the resource below in the details tab, I will change the default units per time to 8 hours per day. Please note that we can always modify the resource details down below in the details and units and prices tabs as needed. So this way we can add resources to the project resources database in Primavera P6 Professional. And in the next lecture, we will learn to assign these resources to the different project activities. So that's it. That's the end of this lecture. Let's move to our next lesson now. In our previous lesson, we have learned the procedure to create the resources for our project. Now we'll see that how these resources, whether labor, non-labor, or material, can be assigned to the project activities in our schedule. To complete this task, let's click on the project and open it. It will take us to the activities window, or we can select activities option from the project menu at the top as well. First, we have to make sure and select the activity we want to assign any resource. Then, in the detail form below, we will click on Resources tab. For me, I will click on the activity Training Need Analysis, and in the bottom, under Resources tab, I will select Add Resource button, and it will open up a new window. So from here, I will assign John to our first project activity by clicking the plus icon on the right. So you see in the resources window, the John has been assigned already to Training Need Analysis activity. Similarly, I will assign John to other activities except Conduct Training, since the required resource for this activity is David. So that's how we usually assign the different resource types for our project activities. That's it. This is the end of this lesson. Let's move to our next lesson now. In our earlier lessons, we have already learned the procedure to create and assign resources to the project activities. Now it's time for the expenses. In this lesson, we are going to learn that how can we assign different expenses to a certain project activity. Please note that the expenses are the non-resource costs that are associated with the project, and these are assigned to the activities in a project. Generally, the expenses are one-time expenditures for non-reusable items. For example, it can include expenses related to materials, facilities, travel, overhead, and training. Please note that we can categorize expenses and we can mention a unit of measure for expenses and specify if an expense occurs at the start or end of an activity or uniformly over its duration. Each expense item has a budgeted or planned cost, actual cost, and estimated remaining cost. For your info, the expenses are not the same like resources. As you know, the resources generally extend across multiple activities and or multiple projects. The examples of resources, as you know, people working on the project and equipment, etc. Please note that unlike resources, the expenses are project specific only. Now, to assign expense to activities, please make sure to open the activities window from the project menu at the top. Now, in the project activities window, we need to select the activity for which we want to assign the expenses. For example, in our case, it can be conduct training. As you see below in the detailed form, we will click on the expenses tab. Now click on add button to add new expenses item, and I will click once more to add another one. We will rename the first item as a trainer boarding and lodging, and the second one as training material expenses. In the budget cost field, we can enter budget available for every activity. In our case, let us assume that the budget available for trainer boarding and lodging is $1,200, and for training material it is $900. Various costs such as labor, non-labor, material, total cost, and expenses details can also be seen and observed in the summary tab. So that's it. This is the end of this lesson. Let's move to our next lecture now. Setting up baseline for a project is another important topic. Okay, so what's the baseline? A baseline is a complete copy of a project plan that we can compare to the current schedule to evaluate progress. Please note that the simplest baseline plan is a complete copy or snapshot of the original schedule. And this snapshot provides a target against which we can track our project's cost, schedule, and performance. Now, for your information, although the Primavera P6 allow us to save a number of baselines for our project, but at any given point of time, we can select only up to 3 baselines for the comparison purposes. And also, please note that before we update a schedule for the first time, we should create a baseline plan first. Now, let's learn that how can we create and assign a certain baseline to our project. And for this, I will click on the project from the main menu and click on the maintain baseline option. As you can see, the maintain baseline window is already displaying my project name here. I need to click on add button on the right side, and then add new baseline window is showing here. Now we will confirm save a copy of the current project as new baseline, and next I will click OK. We can see the newly created baselines B1 has appeared in the baseline name. I will select baseline type as a management sign-off baseline. Okay, then let's press close button on the right side. And now the next step is to assign this newly created baseline to our project. So let's select project from the main menu and let's click on the assign baseline option. I will select project baseline as our newly created baseline, and similarly we will select learning Primavera Foundations B1 option under primary in the user baselines. Then we need to click on the OK button. Now let's observe this in the Gantt chart area, and a new blue bar has appeared under each project activity, which is actually the project baseline that we have assigned to our project already. So this is the end of our lesson. Let's move to our next lecture now. In this lesson, we are going to discuss the procedure that we can use to modify the existing layout or can create a new one if required. And as you know already, we can open up our project by clicking on the projects window and right click on our project name there, and we can click on open project to open the project. Then we can move on to the activities window by clicking on the activities tab here at the top. Okay, now let's click on layout. You see a small arrow like symbol here. Just click on this, classic schedule, and you see the layout options is open there. We can open, we can save, or we can save as required. Now the alternative way to open up a new layout is click on view from the main menu, then click on layout, and from here we can open up the layout or can save the layout as needed. Since I'm going to create a new layout, so let me save the existing layout by using the save layout as. Okay, let me just type the layout name as PR001 layout and click on save. Now you see the layout name has been changed as my new layout called PR001 layout. And in case we want to save the existing layout, and as you know already, we can click on view, click on layout, and can click on save layout option to save it as needed. The similar thing can be achieved by clicking here, and we can click on layout and can click on save button to save the layout. Okay, now let's say we want to modify the existing layout that we have just created. For example, let's say I want to add the columns called actual start and actual finish dates, and along with the actual duration columns. Then what I will do is there are two ways we can achieve this. Right click here in the activities window and can click on columns option from here, or alternatively from the layout toolbar from the top I can click on columns option from here. This will open up the columns window in front of us. Now what I will do is I will click on available options, find, then here I will type actual start, click on find next, and you see here under dates heading we have the actual start and actual finish columns there. So I will select both. I will close the find window or just move it on the right side. Okay, now I will click on add to the list. Now you see both columns are added after the activity ID, and now I have to find the actual duration as well. So what I will do is in the find window I will type actual duration and find. Now you see I have find the actual duration option under the duration heading. It is already selected, so I will click on add to the list button. Now my actual duration has been moved from the available options to the selected options. Now I'm going to close this find option here, the find window from here. Let me just arrange these columns as per my own requirements. I want the activity name exactly after the activity ID, so I can use the button on the right side, move up or move down as needed. Okay, now I will move the actual duration after the actual finish, so I will click on move down in the list. Okay, now it seems okay with me. I will click apply, and you see here in the activity table view I have the actual start and actual finish, actual duration fields there in the activity table view. So that's how we can modify and add the existing layouts or can create the new one as needed. Now let's say if I want to go back to my original layout, what I will do is I will click on layout and I will click on this arrow like icon, the arrow like option that is pointing downward. I will click here, okay, layout. Let me save the existing changes, whatever we have made just now. Then I will click on open. And you remember from our, if you can remember previously, our old layout name was classic schedule layout. So I will select this and I will click on open button on the right side. And you see we are back to our old layout now. And here you don't see the modification we have made in our new layout. I mean, we are back to our original layout settings now. So this is how we can change or modify our existing layouts as needed in the Oracle Primavera P6 Professional. Please note that once a project is in progress, it's important to keep the schedule up to date. And one of the most important reasons to update the schedule is that actual durations may change from our original durations or original estimates. Also, the sequence of activities may change once the work begins, and we may need to add new activities and delete the unnecessary ones. Regularly updating schedules and comparing them with baseline schedules ensures that we are using our project resources effectively. Okay, so let's learn to update the activities progress in the project schedule. In the project activities window, down in the detailed form below, I will click on the status tab, and under status, we can update the status of each project activity here. For example, when the activity was started or finished, the expected finish date, duration, duration percentage, complete, etc. Please note that it's very important that we should update the progress regularly and enter the start and dates as well as expected finish date of every project activity here. Okay, so this is the end of this lesson. Let's move to our next lecture now. In Primavera P6 Professional, the reporting of the project activities is very easy. Please note that it's important for us to control and monitor our project schedules accordingly. Now, to monitor the project activities, in the upper left corner area, in the project activities section, I will right mouse click and then I will select the filters option there. For example, if I want to show and see the activities that has constraints defined in our project schedule, so for this, in the filters window, I will click and select the option that has start constraint or has finish constraint options. And after, I will click on OK button to see the required result. And this will display all the activities that has constraints defined in our project, as you can observe in the activities window. As another example, that in case in our schedule, if we want to see the activities that are defined as milestone, then for this, we can select milestone option in the filters window to see or display the milestone activities in our project schedule. Now, as you can see in the activities window, there are just the milestone activities that are showing there now. Please note that as per our own specific project requirements, we can always define our own filters
by clicking on the New button on the right side of the filter window. In fact, there are various filters defined already that are there in the filters window by default, such as completed and critical activities, in progress, not started activities, etc. This is the end of this lecture. Let's move to our next lesson now. Okay, in this lesson, I'm going to show one of the important functions of Primavera P6 that we can use to import or export the projects in different file formats. For example, we can import our Primavera P6 project files into Primavera XCR, XML, Microsoft Excel, etc. We can also export or import our projects into Microsoft Project file format if required. Okay, so let's open our project and I will click on the File menu on the left, and then I will click on the Export option. As you see, it will open up the export window. Now I will leave the first option selected and I'm going to press the next button. Then I will leave the project option selected and click next again, and that will show me the project to export window. Our project is showing there already, so let's click next, and I need to select the location here where my project file is saved. After, I will click on the Finish button and it will save the exported project in the mentioned location. In our case, it is our desktop. Similarly, now to import, I will select the Import option from the File menu, and then I will click Next, press Next again, and we need to select the location of the file to be imported into the Primavera P6 Professional. Now, in the Import Project Options window, I will select the import action as Create New Project, and also the import location such as Engineering and Construction or ENC, and then we'll click on the plus button on the right side. After, I will press Next and select Finish as you see now. Another copy of our project PR001 is appearing under Engineering and Construction EPS already. So this way we can transfer projects in different file formats into or out from the Primavera P6 Professional as needed. Okay, so this is the end of our lesson. Let's move to our next lecture now.
It's very simple to print our current layout. I will click on the file from the top menu and select Print Preview option. In case you need to do some adjustments in the page, margin, header or footer sections of your layout, then in the upper left corner, I will select Page Setup icon to accomplish these tasks. By selecting Page and Margin tabs, I have the option to select Page Orientation, Paper Size, and Margin settings. Then I have the option to select Header and Footer tabs for modifying section settings. Options tab let you change the start and end dates, activity table, and Gantt chart settings. We can click OK button on the right side to apply changes to our layout for printing. Once the setup is complete, we can click on Print icon on the upper left corner to send the layout for printing.
Okay, so That's it. Let's move to our next lesson now.
In this video, we will talk about various settings that are possible for the Gantt charts. Right-click on Gantt chart area and select Bars option. It will open up a window with various options that we can change as per our requirements. As an example, let's click on Milestone and you will see three options below: bar style, settings, and bar labels, etc. Here you can choose different shape, color, or pattern of the bars. In general, we can keep them as defaults, but of course you can play with different settings and change the shapes of the bars as per your needs. Similarly, if we want to add vertical or horizontal grid lines in the bar chart area, then in the same window, please click on the Options button below and it will open up a new window called Bar Chart Options. At the top in the Sightlines tab, in the vertical lines area, I will select major lines to every 1 month and show minor lines to every day. I will click OK button and then hit Apply and click OK. See and observe the changes applied in the bar chart area.
Let me quickly summarize what we have covered in this lecture so far. We have learned the Primavera P6 core functions, learned to create the basic project plan in such a way so that you should be able to use the Primavera P6 quickly as possible. We have learned the procedure to download and install Primavera P6 Professional Project Management software. After we discussed the user interface briefly and how the Primavera P6 basic user and admin preferences are configured. We have learned to create the enterprise project structure and have created a new project assigned calendar in the Primavera P6 database. We have created the work breakdown structure and the related activities. We have defined milestone activities, learned adding the activity relationships and constraints to the project activities. We have discussed to add and assign project resources and cost to the particular activities as needed. Also, we have learned to set up and assign the baseline, creating layouts and updating the project schedules. We have learned about printing project reports, importing and exporting of the project data files using the import and export functions. We have discussed about formatting the Gantt charts during our lesson. Okay, so that's it about this lesson, and I'm sure you will be able to create your basic project plan confidently and will be able to use the Primavera P6 software quickly as needed. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in the coming lessons where we are going to discuss all these topics in greater detail. And please keep this into your mind that we will be discussing the other very important Primavera P6 planning and scheduling functions such as earned value analysis, S-curves, risk management, etc. that I have not mentioned here in this present class. So please join the remaining lessons as well. Now, if you have any question, kindly post the question in the Udemy question and answer section of the course, and I will reply as soon as possible. Thanks and goodbye.